On a farm, the seasons really set the rhythm. They really set the pace, and they determine the work that needs to be done at that time. The seasons determine what cycle we're in and what's coming next. As I've grown, I've started to appreciate the turning points in those seasons, the summer solstice being one of those. There's just a lot of energy and rebalancing, I think, that happens. For me, I know I draw a lot of energy, and they take the time to step back and reflect and kind of rebalance. Where am I at right now? And what do I need going into the next season? So I'm Greg Padgett. I am the farmer at Plaid Perch Farm, and I have created this YouTube channel because I want to share my journey of fiber through farming, spinning, and knitting. It's really interwoven in our family's lives. My husband and I have 3 boys, and we farm on a small size farm in rural Iowa, and we raise sheep, and we have a few cattle, and all the things that go with the farm life. And so this channel is a place for me to share that journey and build that community, because I thrive on learning from others, hearing what others are doing, and finding the things that they are finding joy in and finding success in. So I hope you'll continue to join me on this journey and subscribe, like this video. But today I want to talk about the summer solstice and what it's meant to me, the traditions that I've started to build around the summer solstice, and how it was the inspiration for this spinning box that I've created. And so I hope you'll follow along as I go through this process. We're going to start by looking at the sheep that have created the wool for this project. And then I want to talk about the themes that were the inspiration for the natural dye materials that were used, the handmade items and makers that went into creating items for this box, and how those themes really connect to the summer solstice and meaning for myself. Lastly, I want to show you how I have decided to spin these 4 different rovings into one 100 gram skein of yarn. And then I'll be spinning it on tour de fleece with the other participants that have purchased the box. So I'm excited to hear about how they're going to spin their rovings and the inspiration that they draw from there, and how they are using this project to be creative in their own way. So I'm excited for you to join me on this journey as we enter the turning of the light at the summer solstice. So I want to introduce you to the sheep that made the wool that is used in this spinning box. So the spinning fiber is made up of about 80% of Romeldale CVM. And so these 3 sheep are in my flock. And so let's meet them. So April is a new addition to our flock. She was at one of my mentor's flocks. And I had mentioned to her one day that I was looking to add some white fleece, because all the fleeces I have in my Romeldale CVM are some sort of color, some sort of brown or gray or versions of those. And so to have some white just gives me a little more opportunity to play with color a little bit more. And so she was working on downsizing some of her flock, and she had April, who is a beautiful Romeldale CVM. And so she came to join our farm last summer, and she's been just a delight. She has this beautiful little face with these kind of chubby cheeks, which are just woolly cheeks, but she's really sweet. And so she came, and so some of the brighter colors you might see are probably on the white wool that April provides. The next sheep is Justice, which also comes from my mentor's farm. She was a yearling that I bought a few years ago, and so she's been on our flock. She's one of my kind of foundation CVMs that I have, so kind of part of that original flock when I was starting with the Romeldale CVMs. And she's a badger face, and so she has the kind of darker underbelly and patterned face, and she's a gray base, and so she has just a whole variety of beautiful gray fibers that really added a lot of texture, or a lot of interest in the way those over dyed with some of the different colors. And so I really love the way that those play into the braids that of dyed roving that I'm going to show you. The next one is Umari, and she's one of my first Romeldale CVMs that I purchased, and she is a morit, so she's a brown, and she's kind of really lightened up in her brownness, and so it's just really soft, kind of almost a light tan, which just takes color so beautifully. And so that was another really fun mix into this blend, and just being able to over dye all of these really beautiful colors really adds to the richness of what I'm able to create. And it's really fun to see how those natural colors play in with the natural dyes and really change the vision of what that is. So the next 15% of the wool comes from Romney, and I specifically chose kind of a shorter staple of the Romney, so it blended in a little bit better, and it didn't, because some Romney can have a kind of a longer staple, and I didn't want to play with, as people were spinning these, kind of fighting those two different staple lengths. So I tried to match it pretty close. And so I chose two fleeces that I have. One is from Ianto. Ianto is a wether who came on in 2021. Him and a couple other wethers joined our flock. And at that time, I just wanted to have some Romney. I just wanted to have some Romney to spin and play with. And I didn't necessarily want to get into breeding and reproducing Romney. I just wanted to have some fleece for Romney. And so Ianto joined. He was a little guy, but he had this beautiful dark gray fleece. And so he continues to hang out with the rams. It's really great when it's breeding season. And if I have a ram or two that's not being used that season, they can hang out with Ianto. And so then they don't feel alone. And so he kind of is that mainstay in the ram flock. And so his beautiful gray just took so many colors, just brought a really fun sheen to this mix. In addition to Ianto, I have a light kind of morit color, so a light tan again, of a fleece from a wether named Ike. Sadly, Ike is no longer with us. Ike joined us with Ianto in 2021. And so it's really special that this fleece, it's a color that I've really cherished. And so I knew I wanted to do something really special with this fleece. It was sad that we lost him, but to be able to carry on his memory through this fleece is pretty special and pretty incredible. So I think that just adds to that energy and that spirit of the summer solstice. So I'm really excited to have Ike in here. And the way the dyes took to that light tan was really fun to see those come together. And then I threw in 5% of Cormo, and this was just, I had some really beautiful Cormo. My neighbor, who is also another sheep mentor and a friend of mine, she raises Cormo. I join their shearing day every December, and sometimes there's fleeces in there that she may not want to send to the mill, or just are better for hand processing versus sending to a mill. And so sometimes I'll walk away with a number of different fleeces just to have fun and play with. And so there was this beautiful, really soft gray, and then another was a bright white. And so again, it really added to that vibrance and that energy of the sun, and really capturing those colors. And so it was really fun to add that 5%. And just Cormo's just another really springy, soft wool. And so it just felt like it was a good complement to this mix. So those are the sheep that made up the fiber that goes into this box. But now I want to talk about the themes and really what made this all come together. So this box is really woven around 4 themes that I feel really connect to midsummer celebrations. So they really are embraced around flowers, fire, feast, and dance. So I wanted to kind of break down each of those themes and tell you about how those fibers and the dye stuff that was used in those fibers and the treasure that goes with that, that theme, and how they all connect and how they really are a build around this idea of the summer solstice. So the first theme of flowers, really, I feel like it says it all. Just the brightness and the colors that come with the midsummer and the flowers that bloom and continue to bring life. And we get to watch them blossom from becoming these small buds in the spring, and as they progress and move into these beautiful flowers. So it was really fun to be able to encompass the idea of flowers into this box. And I think it really talks to one of the meanings behind the summer solstice that is important to me. It's that midpoint. It's that time where we're moving from all this abundance of light and growth and moving into towards the darkness and moving towards rest and recuperation. And so it's a time where I enjoy just taking a pause, reflecting back, seeing what's grown, what's blossomed, what have I accomplished in the last 6 months since the winter solstice, and a time to really look forward and say, what are my intentions? What do I want to move forward and do? So that's one of those traditions that I enjoy doing over the summer solstice. It may be on that day, it may not, just depends on what is happening and what's going on, and the way life goes. So for the flower theme, I wanted to bring in a flower that was really meaningful, and a flower that really captured the energy of the sun. And so I went with marigolds. And last summer I grew some marigolds. And then last fall, when I was up in Minneapolis, my friend Emily invited me to do some recording and interview for her YouTube channel, which was incredibly delightful. And I adore her. And so to be able to chat with her and share that with the world was really fun. There's so many like-minded people in this community, and to come together with them, like, that's really, really powerful to me. And we were walking through her backyard. She was showing me her different flowers and such. And she had all these marigolds. And she's like, I'm just not going to have time to get to these. I would love to do something with these, but they're probably just going to wither and go through the winter. I'm like, let's pick them. So we took a moment, and her and I picked these marigolds and threw them in a bag, and I brought them home, and I put them on the screen, and I dried them up, and I wanted to save them for this summer solstice box. And so I was able to mix her marigolds with the ones that I grew that same season and create some really beautiful colors. So out of those, I was able to create this really fun fiber. Let me undo this. I'll show you. So these really bright yellows and golds really come from the over-dyeing of the marigolds onto those darker fibers, or the dark fibers than the light fibers, and then was able to blend it with some other fibers that you'll see as we're coming together, because all of these kind of intertwine and flow together. And so this one, I wanted some brightness and some, you can see some of this pink that I'll talk about in a little bit. I don't know if you can get a good grasp of that color. So it was just really fun to see how these colors blended and intertwined. This blue is actually, it's not an indigo. It is, I took some fiber that I dyed in nettles, and which I'll talk about in a minute, and I overdyed it with indigo, and it created this really beautiful blue, which was great because I'm really struggling with my indigo vat at the moment. It was something I've been working through, and so to get this really beautiful blue without indigo was really fun. When I decided to do the summer solstice box, I knew this was going to be an item. Hands down, it was going to go into this box because It's an incredibly meaningful item to me, and it's made by a pretty incredible person in the farm that she runs. And so, Rhubarb Botanicals. So, Emma and her partner Jeremy run this amazing farm, and it's been really fun to see this farm grow. When in my past job, I worked with beginning farmers and helped them through business planning and mentorship. And Emma was in one of the programs that I was running. So I got to see her move from Minneapolis to Iowa and grow her botanical business in a way that I don't think anybody could have thought of. And she just has really built an amazing community. She's connected with other farmers and really been able to build this stronghold of amazing people that are sharing food and flowers and nature together. It's really pretty remarkable. But the story that so this is calendula salve, and so basically this is a skin rejuvenation salve which captures the energy from the calendula. So they're basically a marigold, it's a pop marigold, and so this salve captures that into this tin with a number of other ingredients that allows you to use this all year round. And I remember once I was at her farm, I was really struggling with this skin rash and I was just trying all different things, and it was just continuing to irritate me. And she sent me home with a tin of this, and it changed everything. And I use it all the time now. I use it for our kids and our family, and it's a really powerful salve that I really enjoy. And so I wanted to share that because not only is it capturing the sun's energy through the calendula flower, but it also is something that really feeds our body and helps us heal. How does that not connect with the summer solstice? So I was really excited to be able to partner with her and add these to the mix. And so that kind of filled out the flower aspect of the spinning box. So the next theme is feast, and there's so many different ways that you can look at this theme. For me, the celebration of enjoying a meal together and breaking bread with others is so incredible. And to be able to add that to a midsummer celebration is pretty incredible. It really builds on that community aspect that's so important to me, to bring people together. And so this one, I want to work a little backwards. So another item that I really wanted to include in here was some sort of repurposed item from my friend Sarah over at Purple Pen Cushion. She creates these beautiful just bags and notions and all sorts of just fun vintage kind of things that she's kind of curated over the years. And so it was really fun to partner with her. And she took these old vintage tablecloths, which really ties into that feast theme, and created an amazing little pouch. And just beautiful little lining on the inside, and just the flowers really, there's a number of different patterns, but this is one of them. And just how they spoke to this theme and the idea of repurposing them, the idea that you can just you can hold your tools, your treasures, your memories in here, really just built on that theme. And Sarah's one of those people that I've always enjoyed her and her booth and the work that she does. And then one year I think a year or two ago, we were chatting and we found out we had so much more in common than what we really had known on the surface. And so really gotten to know her and really enjoy spending time with her. And so to have her contribute an item to this is really pretty special. So I was really excited to put those together in there. So for the feast theme, I wanted to bring in one of my favorite natural dye materials, onion skins. And as silly as it is, they create this beautiful gold that just, it really sings to my heart. I really love the color. And so with that one, I took it a little step further, and I built upon that gold and added and turned it into some greens. So you see some of the golds in there, you see some of the greens in there. And so I was able to do some over dyeing with the gold of the onion skins and turn it into some really beautiful greens. And I've really enjoyed how the green speaks to the plants that feed us and nourish us, and the way these colors just play together. Onions is such a power. I use it all the time in cooking, so it feels like this magical food that just brings life to so many dishes that I cook. And so to be able to bring that unused piece into it with the onion skins was really pretty incredible. So this one, there's some Saxon indigo, which is a natural, kind of a liquid natural dye. So that brings in some of these brighter colors. And like I said, those greens, I was just had so much fun mixing those together. But I love how the idea of breaking bread, coming together at a table and really learning from each other, I think that also really speaks to the summer solstice. It's about balance, and it's about bringing two sides together, and how there is no one right or wrong. It's the way it is. And I think that there's so many things that we can learn from opposites. I think the power of this being Pride Month, and how we can all come together, have an open mind, and really be a stronger community. And I think there's so much power around doing that around food, around coming to that table together. And so that really adds some specialness to this feast theme for me. And have these two kind of inspirations with the onion skin and the tablecloths as pouches, like really, it feels like it just completed this whole thing. And so I'm really excited to be able to share those with everybody. So the next theme is fire, and I wanted to take this in a little bit of a different direction. When I thought of fire, I thought of the cycle of renewal. When in the spring, we often are burning prairies and our pasture ground, and the way prairie burns and forest fires bring new life and change cycles. I wanted to find inspiration that captured how those come together. And so it's not about the colors, it's about the idea behind it. And so I wanted to look at prairie plants and those that come back from the fire. And I struggled a little bit because there's not a lot of prairie plants that really become great dye plants. And a plant that we have in abundance here, and brings a lot of great value, but also can be viewed as kind of a nuisance, is nettle. And I think as I start to understand nettle more, I start to find it fascinating with the idea of being able to create fiber from nettle, the idea of the power and the nutrients that come from nettles. It becomes this inspirational plant, even though it's often a plant that is growing where I don't necessarily want it to be growing. So I took some of the young spring nettle and I dyed it on a variety of different colors, and so you get these really pretty yellows, and there was a touch of madder that hadn't been washed out of the kettle that I was using. So it was just kind of the clinging to the sides a little bit, and it just added just a tinge of orange to it, which I ended up really enjoying in the end. And I just love how this one really ties you see the greens and the blues really intertwining together amongst the light, amongst that fire. So you really get kind of that sky and the earth really flowing together. So this one really turned out fun. I was really surprised. I wasn't sure how this one was going to turn out. And I was really delighted to see all these come together. And with this one, I wanted to pair it with a beeswax candle. And so another farm that I've kind of seen, I've watched grow up into this really amazing business is a Holton Farmstead in Elkhart, Iowa. And they create really amazing honey products and beeswax products. And so this is a really beautiful candle that they've put together. And I was really excited to be able to add this. The idea of bees and how they carry the sun's energy and create new life out of it, the way they spread the pollen and the cycles that they create, they build through that. The products that they create that we continue to use is really amazing. And the smell of beeswax is delightful. And so to be able to open a box full of beeswax candles and to be able to catch that waft of that smell was really special. So I included that. So we've got the fire, we've got the sun's energy, we've got all of that playing together right here. So my last theme I went with was dance. So we were on an F theme, and I had to throw it off with the dance. But just that joyful celebration and that movement and the rhythm just really spoke to the summer solstice, celebrating midsummer. And so I wanted to find ways to incorporate that into this spinning box. And I looked at the trees, and they're always dancing in the wind. Their movement, it can be strong, it can be light. The way trees have developed to withstand the wind and to give with the wind and dance with the wind instead of being rigid and breaking off. That was a message that I wanted to share through here. And so I knew I wanted to use some sort of tree dye for the dance component. And so with that, I started with the idea of I wanted to do pear bark. And then I found, as I was this spring doing some cleanup, there was some wild cherry trees that were growing that I had to move some of them. And so I decided I'm going to use that bark. And I haven't dyed with cherry bark, but I knew that it gave a similar pink color to the pear bark. And so I wanted to experiment with that and try. And I was delighted. It turned out really beautiful. I was worried at first, but then it really came together. But you can see really beautiful pinks in there. And it was just a fun, vibrant color that really mixed in. That pink reds really brings that passion. And so it just felt like a really great color to add into this. And so with this, like just the idea of noticing the trees and connecting them with dance, I want to encourage everyone, get outside, take a moment, sit in that quiet and see what you notice, see what nature is telling you and what you're missing. And so I want to encourage you to do that. So to pair with this, so this one you'll see lots of the colors from the previous. So to kind of recap, we have cherry bark, nettle, onion skin, and marigolds. And then I also added in some logwood and indigo to kind of enhance some, or to kind of do some overdying and build these colors. So that's the mix of what kind of comprises the dyes and the fiber. And the last treasure that I have with this is this really great wooden diz. So if you don't know what a diz is, it is a tool that you use to pull fiber through, and that's what creates the roving of spinning fiber. And so if you've used wool combs. Typically, you will use a diz to remove the wool from the wool combs, and then that creates your roving. And so it felt so fitting because the wood was once a dancing tree that was really moving in with the wind and part of nature, and then now it's able to help that wool dance through and create new roving, that is creating new products and adding new life to something different. And so my friends over at Knit and Gather, they create really great notions. They're good people. They're really building a strong community of like-minded, open-minded people in the Twin Cities. And so I knew I wanted to have them contribute an item to this. And so we did some chatting. They aren't spinners, but they were totally open to ideas, and we came together with this Diz idea, and I love how they built the sun into it, and it was a really fun item. And so I was really excited to incorporate that into the spinning box. There are many different ways we can spin these. We can spin them alone. We can two-ply them. We can chain-ply them. We can do some combo spinning with them. The idea of when I blended these all together is I used colors, the similar colors throughout. So each theme has its own kind of individuality. So you can see we have flower, feast, fire, and dance. And each of those have their own look. But together we can combo spin them together, and we can blend them together into one look for 100 grams gain. So I want to kind of play with some ideas that I might have as I'm spinning these different rovings together. So let's play with this a little bit. So I like that the pinks for me really stand out. And then we also have kind of this brighter blue that kind of stands out. And so I think those are something that I want to have a little more consistent throughout the spin. And so I want to see how I can break those up and spin them together. So if you look at each of the braids, each of them start with kind of one theme, and then they move into another. I'll show you on this dance braid here. Let's slide those out. So this one, you can see how it starts with a lot more pinks, and then kind of goes into the greens and yellows, and then it kind of finishes with mostly greens. So each of the rovings run through a similar kind of progression of starting in one kind of color and moving to another. And so that leads me to think that I could easily break these in half, each one of these in half, and use that to kind of spread each theme throughout the entire look. So I'm going to separate each one of these in half. Now that I have each set of rovings broken into two halves, now I'm going to look at how I can spin these kind of in for in. And so I'll start with one theme and pick up the next, but I won't keep that same order through each of these because I want to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I like how I have some pinks here. So I might just pull these off to the side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a two-ply. And so I'm going to do one ply in one line and a second ply in the next line. So I'm going to pull this one here, come back to this pink, and then move into this kind of lighter color. And I want to balance that with a darker. So I'm going to bring this one over here and kind of the same thing on this theme. And so how do we like that? So we start with a lot of pink. So I'm not sure. So I might switch these two. So it has a little pink. This has a lot of pink. But then I think that'll be all right. Then we go into a little more pink, but we have these more muted colors of the feast that are kind of calming that down, but pulling out some of these greens and enhancing some of these yellows. And then we'll move into this section here where we have these blues and the pinks and these greens kind of blending together. I have another idea. I'm going to break this one into a quarter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end with this one. And I'm going to start with that one. So I think what that will do is it will throw off the alignment of those colors. So we'll start with these two, and then we'll blend into these two, and then we'll just kind of keep working these all the way through. And then I think that will be a really fun way to spin each of, so this will be one single, and then this will be a second single. And then I can apply those two together in a simple two-ply, and that's going to bring a lot of those colors kind of meandering through, which I think is really fun and is going to kind of add to that dance and that movement that I've really put together in this box. So I think this is how I'm going to spin it, but don't take this as a way you have to spin it. So open up the rovings, take a look, see how the colors speak to you. Maybe you want to spin them individually. Maybe you want to do a combo spin. You do you. You do what really calls you and gets you the result that you're wanting in the end. So I'm excited to see how everybody spins theirs. But I think that this is how I'm going to work through and spin this one on Tour de Fleece. So that altogether is what I put together for the Summer Solstice Spinning Box. But I wanted to take it a step further. I wanted to continue to add community into it. One of the things that I love about these projects where there's a theme and an idea and it's all coming together is being able to connect with the others that are also participating in that. And so I was trying to figure out some ways to be able to do that. And one of the ways that I wanted to build on that was Tour de Fleece is coming up. So in tandem with the Tour de France, there is, so they're spinning their bike wheels, the spinners are spinning their spinning wheels. So every year, Tour de Fleece seems to be this really big community building event around hand spinners. And so I'm really excited to invite all of the people that have purchased one of the spinning boxes to come together and spin together as we open our boxes and throw these on our spinning wheels and share what this box means to them, what summer solstice means to them, what feelings are they getting from these spinning fibers, and just really build community around that and get to know each other. So I'm really excited to invite them and participate in that together. And I hope you will join in Tour de Fleece and share what you're spinning. And I'll continue to do some videos and post some things about that as well. But I also I love that this has been so energizing to put together a project like this, to think through all these different pieces and then bring people together to make that vision happen, was really incredible and just really fed that creativity and that energy that I needed at that time. And so I want to continue to do this and find different ways and continue and find different people and continue to build that community and kind of revolve around the nature around us. And so with that, winter solstice is coming because now we're at the summer solstice and we're moving towards the darkness. And so I thought, how cool would it be to do a Yule countdown? So Yule is the time between the winter solstice and New Year's. And I thought it would be really fun to take those 12 days and do a countdown. And so tell me what you think. Tell me in the comments what you would be excited about. What would be motivating to you? What would be How would that bring community to you? And let me know. I love to build off that inspiration and see what we can create together. So I am so thankful that you joined me and celebrated the summer solstice together. Got to see the inspiration, the themes, the traditions that I do. So I hope you will find some time to sit in that quiet, take in the energy of this time, find some balance, and look at how you've grown and what growth you've had and where you want to go as we move towards the winter solstice. So thank you again. I hope you'll like and comment. I always enjoy hearing from everybody, and that building that community and learning from what others are experiencing and seeing and doing really makes all of this come together. So thank you, happy solstice, and we'll see you in the next video.